This car to me is an airplane on the ground. When you crawl into this thing and button it up, it's like being in a cockpit. When you see the instrument panel, they're aircraft gauges, they're rocker switches, you switch on, you can smell it, you can feel it, you can hear that engine, and then it goes out and just performs. It's the way driving to be a pleasure should be. I grew up in a West Texas town. It was a cowboy town where the family car is a pickup or a tractor. In this little cowboy town, there was an Air Force base close by. And all these hotshot pilots drove things that I had never seen before. And it really turned me on to these European cars and especially the Jaguars when I saw them way back when. The history of the Jaguar is really interesting. They started in England. It was built by a man named William Lyons, and it started prior to World War II, building sidecars for motorcycles. And after World War II, he came up with the Jaguar. He had a fundamental saying in his company that every car they built was going to have grace, space, and pace. What he did also is he knew that to sell cars, you need to win races. To race, back then, in Europe especially, you had to win Le Mans. Anybody who won that, the buying public figured, that's a car that I can keep without any problems. And they basically made the car that I'm going to show you today, the E-Type, was predicated on the XKE frame, the body style that they used on the Formula One race cars in the 50s when they won everything. Jaguar swept everything, beat Ferrari, beat everybody. The XKE was first introduced in Switzerland in 1961, and they built this same car basically all the way to 71. So the car basically evolved, and the only thing that really changed over the periods was the engine. The engine that you see here was the last 6-cylinder engine before they went to the 12, and this was a 4.2 liter engine. So it went from 3.4 to 3.8 to 4.2. The drivetrain on these cars, to match up with that engine, they had two options with this car. You could get a 3-speed automatic. It was a Borg-Warner 3-speed automatic. You could also get a 4-speed. And the 4-speed obviously was a better shifting car, better driving car. You had rack and pinion steering, so you had really precise handling of the car. Disc brakes all the way around, so it stopped as fast as it went. And all of these cars were designed from the get-go to go 150 miles an hour, which they do. When that engine starts, it's otherworldly. It's a combination of its speed, it purrs, and off speed, it growls at you. It's just animalistic. You can also do some things to make it more modern, which I've done. I put in a 5-speed, state-of-the-art 5-speed transmission, and it just shifts and goes and really marries up well with the engine. So the power curve on this car is just flat, it just goes. And I also did such things that are sacrilegious as added air conditioning. Took the power steering off, which they had on the 2+2s. They gave you power steering and power brakes. The power steering doesn't give you the turns of precise steering that you'd get on a rack and pinion, so I changed that out as well. And along with electronic ignition, an alternator instead of a generator, all the modern things that make this car really work like an everyday car. I want to be able to have the capability to do some of these 1,000-mile road rallies, Copper State 1000, the Race of America. You've got all these things that go on regionally, and if you look on the internet, probably every state in the union has some kind of a road rally that you can race. This is a comfortable car. You can easily sit in this thing and drive it 300 or 400 or 500 miles a day. When you're sitting in the cockpit of this car and you look out over that hood, it's like no other car you'll ever see. When you're a sports car guy like I am, design is everything. Design, the way a car sounds, the way it feels when you drive it. It's like being inside rolling art. You've got a 360-degree envelope that you're sitting inside of, and it all feels good. Enzo Ferrari at the show in 1961 saw this car and he said, "There will never be a more beautiful car ever designed." It's a car that has to be noticed. It's a car that was a milestone car mechanically, cosmetically, for its day, and it still is. I can't imagine a car that's 50 years old that attracts attention like this car does. It's an extension of a car that is, to me, more art than mechanics, and that's a Jaguar.